Now, I'd like to introduce you to our program's host and founder, Surabhi Kaushik.
Thanks, Rana. Thank you all for being here, the first Writers Beyond Borders for 2022. And thanks to Rana for hosting the program through South Boulevard Library. And the inspiration is also here, Pam, who inspired me to start programs like this. Thank you, Pam, for joining also this morning. So our guest today is Jayanti Shankar. As I've already told you in the email and flyers, and all of you have spoken to me before, she's joining from Singapore. It's 10:30 in the night. So Jayanti, thank you so much for being so accommodative across all time zones. I'm going to quickly hand it over to her to start talking. If you have any questions while she's talking, I request you to hold on to them and maybe pop them in the chat. There will be time for Q&A once she finishes talking, and I'm going to open up the floor for you guys. So thanks again. And Jayanti, it's over to you.
Thank you, Surabhi and Rana, South Boulevard Library of North Carolina. Before I, forget, I normally do this. As for me, I am what I am today only because of my reading. And the National Library Board of Singapore, fed me with all the books I needed, all the books I wanted. And the reader turned into a critic, and the critic very soon transformed into a, creative. And subsequently, I became an author. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. Reading has shaped so many people in the world. I'm one of them. In fact, I have been a late bloomer. Typically reading shaped what I am today as an author, as a person, as anyone. Anything of me is because of my reading. So I'm going to share with you what I have learned over 27 years of my journey. Is it a must to read books? People often ask me, is it even a must to read books? So yes, the world will go forward without me, pretty well without me. But only I won't be in sync with the world without reading. I always feel. For me, reading is what connects me to the world, the constantly transforming world. So once I'm reminded of this one incident, one young man, an aspiring author, he came to me, he said, "Ma'am, I'm so much fond of writing. I love writing, but, I don't want to read." I thought, is it even possible to be, writing without even reading? And I said, I couldn't respond to him, because how can he even know what's going on in the literary world? Who's writing what is being written in the wider perspective, not only in his genre or not only in his region. And how much can he know about the publishing world if he's not reading? So if I were to choose between reading and writing, I always tell my mentees and my friends in a lighter tone, you have to choose only one. Which one will you choose? And I will always choose reading. So then, what do you think the non-readers are missing out? We all know that, through books, we visit places, lands, cities, and lives and cultures of unknown lands, and so many people we get to know. Most of them know, most of us, we know that neuroscience has proved to the world that reading literary fiction can increase the reader's critical thinking and empathy. Mainly because the human mind lives the characters of the book. There is an increased connectivity in the brain. Of course, the added vocabulary and the analytical skills would help readers, apply them into their lives, and this perhaps makes them smarter. Those people who fight depression and anxiety, they really derive strength from the reading of books, from reading fiction especially, because they connect to the emotions of the characters and incidents in the novel, or living an entirely different life from what they are going through. And that's such a respite to, their life. So these form the foundation of EQ in the, development, EQ development in the readers. Why is reading fiction so special? Because I'm a person who reads fiction, writes fiction. I'm a fiction person. So why is it so special? Contemporary humans are always, going further away from this low dopamine activity. But the effects left by this activity is long-lasting and magical. It can really be transforming. The modern human gets higher dopamine from visual media or video games, social media, and they believe that's where their happiness lies. But quicker and higher dopamine is so quick to fade away and vanish, leaving no trace at all. Therefore, these activities are becoming so much of distraction, and only that. And many young people think that reading bits and pieces in the social media is reading. It is not, in my humble opinion. And so in any multimedia, the human brain becomes lazy actually, because all senses are served in a platter, audio visual as we call it. So the brain has lesser work. Therefore, in reading fiction, the scope for imagination expands unimaginably. I was at a simple event, pre-COVID times, when I ended off my speech with a simple question: what is the role of fiction? Most of the adult, that was for a section of adults, and most of them answered, it is to pass time. I was completely taken aback because I didn't know. Of course, I went on to explain how fiction can transform one's life and all. I don't know how many of them understood. Fiction has mightier roles than that. Personally, I believe writing fictions secretes more humanity in readers, and therefore the world becomes a better place to live in. Many people think that creativity and writing are one and the same. While writing could have creativity, not all writings are creative. And fiction writing and fiction reading are fairly complementary. Anyone who is good at one is mostly good at the other. Every human brain continues to constantly create in several ways with the right ambience. No one can say I'm not creative. I don't believe in that. But although we all have creativity, not everyone nurtures it to grow, to pursue, right? Only those who care for the joy of creativity or the joy of the fictional world care to share, and then comes the act of writing. And only when she shows her fictional world to the others, she needs expressions. And therefore, she needs a language, verbal or written. So creativity happens in all of us all the time, regardless of the medium we choose. For example, a dancer doesn't have to even move her limbs to dance in her mind. She does not even require music. It's there in her. It's only when she wants to share her dancing experience that she will require a stage, music, lighting, auditorium, attire, makeup, whatever, you see. So how has fiction writing been important to me? As a lover of fiction, how has it been important to me? Just after a couple of years into writing attempts, I discovered that my alter life is my fictional life. And eventually this formed the purpose of my life, always driving me forward and also helping me overcome the sadness that the real world at times bring in me, the sadness and the sorrow. My existence would have otherwise been meaningless. I'm so glad I found my home. I often visit this real world, but more to connect with the world, the real world, and to gather raw material for my fictitious world. So I'm always in and out of the real world. My characters teach me through their behavior how to understand the humans of the real world, just as the humans teach me to understand my characters. And I've come to a stage where I just can't live without this process. For it helps me align my thoughts. And the experiences of creative craft and experiments leave me with lasting joy. I thought of giving a set of general tips for those who wish to begin writing or pursue writing. While brainstorming, the golden rule I always suggest to young aspirants is do not write as soon as you ideate. Play with the central idea as long as you can, weighing the pros and cons. The fear of losing the ideas or the sparks or flashes is not at all needed. As we all know, we can maintain notebooks, digital or otherwise. We can always revisit, to write, to improve, to rewrite, edit, and so on. But the key point is learn to wait, learn to play with the idea, and spot the leader among the herd of thoughts to ensure that the herd diligently follows that guide. Because that central thought becomes the spine of the fiction. Importantly, fiction writing should never be attempted to prove something to someone, anything to anyone. Such external forces can really ruthlessly kill the creative process, which is supposed to bloom like a flower. We only have to prepare our mind to invite thoughts. It can be through music. People have other ways to do also. They take long walks in the park, or even they go on long bicycle rides, So anyway, but stay away from social media if real creativity has to happen, because they can be so distractive. The central idea in the mind can really be distracted. And solitude really helps in creativity. It may be different for other genres like self-improvement books, non-fiction, personal essays. But for non-fiction, for fiction, which is fully creative, the process is totally different, because other genres, they have traces of creativity. They are more of facts. In the text, when you write, I would suggest you leave unsaid words, not only to get the abstract beauty to the text, the literary value of it, but also to widen the scope for the reader's participation. I often emphasize on this because when the readers can participate in your text, the text will stay with them for long. So spoon feeding will not help. Preaching will put them down. Preaching will only put them off. So respect your readers and believe that they are as intelligent as you are, if not more. Then you wouldn't preach or spoon feed, Only then mature and mind-boggling works can come out of you. And these works can really stand the test of time. All that we write need not be published. And all that get published need not be recognized. Because when you start thinking about publications, you're going to get many rejections. Get ready for rejections. Rejections are part of growing up, part of the journey. You just have to analyze why rejections are coming your way. What do I lack? What do I need to improve? Where I should work on? Writing is not some marathon. So postpone your first book if you can. Let the first book be the one that you will always be proud of. There is no hurry. Don't make it, don't make it a rush. You don't have to worry about other people publishing this, that, Our own journey is ours. Okay, when you come to the manuscript part, there are three main stages of the manuscript. First is, of course, writing, which is completely creativity, especially in fiction. And that's when I always tell people, you have to let your heart work and do not keep rigid deadlines. Be all free and easy. And second stage is the rewriting. And between the two, please give gap, as long as possible, as long as you're comfortable with. And rewriting is a balance of intellect and the heart, because that is where you will find out loopholes, the gaps, the places where you have to really connect, where you have to, cut off, take away. And third will be the editing part. Editing will require more of the intellect. Therefore, here, the deadlines really will help. Generally, editing can be a combination of online editing, print sheets editing, and also another pair of eyes. If you can afford 2 pairs of eyes, go ahead before the manuscript goes to the professional editor. And at this stage, affordability will come in. It depends on how much you can afford. So you can go for the editor suitably. Even if it's a short poem that you're going to post, even in social media, you should get into the habit of revisiting that poem after a gap, so that, when it goes out of your hand, into the social media for others to read. It is as good as perfect. That will bring a fabulous, impression on you as a poet. So of course, last week you wrote a poem, and this week, if you're going to touch the content, it won't be right. I know, because last week you had another mood. Now you're in a different mood. But this week, when we touch the poem, it can be more of better words, cutting words to get sharpness and such. Always, always rest your manuscript as many times as possible, as long as possible, before it goes for layout. As social media can be a good tool, but only when you can really use it in the right way. Otherwise, it can be a distraction. I keep repeating this because I see many posts and writings there, which are so much, sad. It makes me sad. Anyways, so no doubt author expects great number of sales, right? But I'm never into this illusion of numbers because all bestsellers are not fantastic reads. Not all good works are bestsellers. So such numbers don't reflect the literary value, which for me is more important. So it's very important for anyone to ask yourself, why do I want to write? Who do I want to write for? And some people are into the belief that in demand, not in demand. With the visual media coming up so much, OTT and all, the series, Netflix series and things, the demand for fiction, books as novels, is decreasing. But I don't believe so, because readers will always be readers. And personally, for me, creativity is very important, because the process of creation stays with me all the time. My works are creatives for me, even after they become a book, a product called book. I don't cling to my work, because that can stop me from going to my next work. And I don't know if how many of you can understand, an author should disappear after the book is published, because the readers should own the fiction for more healthier debates to happen. It has been so long since I've witnessed such a panel where the author observes without opening her mouth. Author talking on and on about the content of her book in social media might reflect as lack of confidence in the author. I mean, it's not the right way to promote her book. There are other ways to do that. Interviews are different, entirely different interviews. So before I forget, I thank again the library, Rana, Surabhi, Kaushik, for connecting me to the library, and a wonderful opportunity to meet you all virtually. And I must thank every one of you for giving this warm support. Let's discuss more on the topic.